Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So Eddie Hearn back in the news, if you will. Now, Eddie Hearn seems to have his hands in a little bit of everything, seems to be associated with a lot of different fighters. Some of that is just due to the fact that he signed some of these fighters. Some of it is due to the fact that he is associated with Turkey Al-Sheikh, and many of these fighters want to get to that easy turkey bag. But he is back in the news talking a little bit about Terence Crawford, and this came directly from Michael Benson. Now, I don't know if Michael Benson actually had this conversation with Eddie Hearn, but here's what he had to say, and I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit because the wording is a little off. But Eddie Hearn has told me that he doesn't think Terence Crawford will ever fight again. I don't think Crawford will fight again because I think he's made really solid money in his last couple of fights. I don't think he wants to fight Vergil Ortiz or Jaron Ennis. I think he only wants to fight Canelo Alvarez because he's gotten used to the payday. I'm paraphrasing that. He probably thinks he'll fight again, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. So inactive as well. I think he's happy to sit out until the end of the year. He'll be just waiting for or if the Canelo fight comes up. Wow. So that's an interesting statement from Eddie Hearn. In regards to Terence Crawford, personally, it's interesting, right? Because when you think about what Terence Crawford had to say in a recent interview with Sean Zell, he said his singular motivation in reality is Canelo Alvarez. So if Canelo Alvarez is your singular motivation and that fight isn't going to come to fruition, then at the end of the day, maybe it's time for you to hang it up, right? Because we don't want you to get into the ring not motivated appropriately in order to put on the best performance that Terence Crawford can put on. And when you go to the ring and you're not appropriately motivated, then guess what ends up happening? You lose. And that is probably a reason why Terence Crawford is not going to get back into the ring, and I would salute him for that if that's not his end goal. Now, personally, I've been telling a lot of you for a very long time that Terence Crawford's end goal was not to become 3 times undisputed. It never was. Because he has the opportunity to become 3-time undisputed at 154 pounds. And if he's choosing to retire over fighting another fight at 154 pounds, he never had any desire to become 3-time undisputed. His desire was to make the biggest fight he could for as little risk as he can. Now, granted, Canelo Alvarez is definitely a risky fight for sure. But in reality, what he's looking for, big fights, low risk. We had YSM on our live stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Sunday, so make sure you check us out. And he had the same mindset. He had the same belief that Terence Crawford has no real interest in making any of those fights that may pay a sizable amount of money, but could also present a sizable amount of risk. I don't believe Vergil Ortiz is a significantly risky fight for Terence Crawford, but I don't believe that Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to be willing to actually pay him what Terence Crawford is looking for, which is probably Errol Spence money, right? The same level of dollars that he got to fight Errol Spence. I don't think he's going to be interested in that. Jaron Ennis, personally, I think Turkey Al-Sheikh would be willing to put up the ducats for him to fight Jaron Ennis. However, Jaron Ennis is a very, very risky fight, regardless of what any of these Terence Crawford fans would tell you. The minute you start hearing about what has a fighter done in order to get the opportunity to face another fighter from that particular fighter's fan base, you know that fighter is extremely dangerous. So Terence Crawford is not looking for that type of fight. He's looking for a specific type of fight. Now, Canelo represents a extremely dangerous fight. I know a lot of you guys think that somehow Terence Crawford is Floyd Mayweather and he's just going to simply go in there and outbox Canelo Alvarez. I would argue that Terence Crawford is not Floyd Mayweather. He does not fight like Floyd Mayweather. I think he is much more open than Floyd Mayweather to get hit. And I think Canelo Alvarez has the ability to counter Terence Crawford's counter. And if he does and lands clean, it could get ugly. Plus, just Canelo Alvarez just pounding and punching on you at some point is going to take a toll. So, but at the end of the day, I think Terence Crawford truly is just interested in making the biggest buck he can. And I have never begrudged a fighter for looking for the opportunity to make a payday. Terence Crawford is almost 37 years old. That's up there, man. That is up there for any sport. And being 37 things slow down. Reflexes slow down. At 54 against Madrimov, he did not look as fast. He hasn't looked as mobile since the Jeff Horn fight. So time catches up with us all, right? So to me, trading at 154 pounds, staying in that division, I think there's fighters there that are better than Madrimov. I think there's fighters there that can punch harder than Madrimov. So I know people are going to say, no, Madrimov, he's the best fighter in the world just because, or the best fighter at 154 pounds simply because he faced Terence Crawford and gave him a good fight. So now you got to give him credit that maybe he doesn't deserve. But there's some risk there at 154. And so if Crawford stays there, he needs to be appropriately motivated to fight. It's just that simple. And if you get into the ring where you're not, I'm going to be honest with you. Actually, let me back up. You need to be appropriately motivated, and your appropriate motivation needs to be the best in the world or to prove yourself in terms of your overall skill set or your value or where you're positioned in the sport. That should be your singular motivation. Money is going to always be a motivator, and certainly it should play a part in your decision in terms of who you should fight. But if money is first and foremost, then what eventually ends up happening is you get beat. That's not the appropriate motivation either. So if he's going to the ring and he's not motivated to demonstrate that he is the best at 154 pounds, if he's not motivated to become undisputed, to unify at 154, then yeah, you're right. He shouldn't fight anymore. He should retire. And we'll salute him if he does. Ride off into the sunset. Enjoy time with your wife and your kids and enjoy that wealth that you've been able to make and move on. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's not the only fighter that's getting ready to hang him up. There's that crop of fighters, I would say, that was from like 2014 to about 2018 that kind of sprung up during that time, whether you want to call it superstardom or not. I think a lot of those fighters are on the verge of calling it quits. You got, Danny Garcia got to be 34, 35 years old. You got Errol that's got to be like 34. Crawford, you got Thurman. All those fighters that came up during that time, it's probably about that time for them to move on. And then there's going to be a new, a different set of fighters that are ushered in that are going to be at the top of the sport. Even Canelo is probably about that time for him as well. So if Madrimov was Terence Crawford's last fight, great. If it isn't, look forward to seeing him back in the ring. But he needs to make sure that he steps into the ring with the proper motivation, or it could be a long night for him, regardless of who he's in the ring with. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section in regards to this. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you check us out every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our live stream where Jason and I get rough, rugged, and raw. But until next time, peace.